this main event, everybody's been looking forward to this one for a long time. So I just want to ask from your point of view, like, what's the most interesting aspect of it to you? Because there's part like the storyline that's all built up to, but then there's part like just the style of the fight itself. So what's the most exciting thing for you?
Right. I mean, for me in my role, obviously it's more of the storyline. I think you can't deny that we all know this is a fight that we've been looking forward to. They're two styles or something that, we love that kind of clash inside the octagon. But for me, the storyline is so interesting. And being at that fight in Las Vegas, when it all kind of went down and the drama just was heightened, I think it adds something. I don't think that they needed any drama to sell this fight. But I think because it's there is certainly another level of interest. You have to wonder how that's going to affect people. I mean, Korean Zombie even made some comments about, handling his emotions, and I was saying negative things, and that wasn't really me. So you can tell, I mean, it is affecting them in one way or another, so you kind of wait and see, like, oh, how do they look when they get into the octagon? What's their walkout like? Do they seem like emotions getting to them? So I think it just kind of adds another layer to a fight that we are already so excited about.
Yeah. Well, we found out in the last couple of days, obviously, that Gracie's not going to be here for Ortega. Now,
yeah.
You get to talk to all these fighters, behind the scenes. I think they tell us what they want us to hear sometimes. They know. What do you think when you talk to them? I mean, how much do you think that's going to affect Brian? And will they be more honest with you than they are? Because I know you watch our coverage too. Will they be more honest with you behind the scenes than they will with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a level of trust with us, and we have these fighter meetings where, they're closed door. Nothing that is said in those meetings will ever be repeated until time for the broadcast. And there's often times where they'll tell us things that they still don't want repeated at all. I think it's important they have that kind of trust with us. We're around the world with them. Like, we're all here, and so I flew, and Brian Ortega's crew was right next to me, and then he came out, and I will tell you, they were so relaxed. They were having fun. They were playing games for hours. They were really enjoying themselves, and Brian seemed to be enjoying the process, which is always something that we talk about with our athletes. And, it seems like that always benefits, our different fighters to be able to find some joy in this experience. And so with Henner being there, I mean, of course, I'm sure it's going to be a voice that he's missing, but I have no doubt that there's going to be a FaceTime or something, minutes before the walkout, or maybe even some sort of live FaceTime where he's just watching the warm up. I think when you have someone that valuable to you, you don't just say okay, well, you couldn't come, so now you're not included at all. I'm sure there'll still be some incorporation of however that works. We have our official meeting with Brian after this, so we'll get a little more info on it then.
Obviously, everybody's tuned into the main event, but are there any other, whether it be fights, because of a matchup, or maybe because of an interview you've done, or a story that is there anything else that people maybe should be looking forward to that maybe they're not?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm excited that we signed Gamrot. I think that's really great. I was just watching his fights last night. I love the Chookagian-Andrade fight. I don't think it's getting enough love. And I think it's so interesting. Jessica Andrade, former champion, her third weight class in the UFC. It's actually, I don't think that we realize it, but it's been done by a couple of women before to have, kind of that triple threat, 3 different weight classes in the UFC. But she's always so fun to watch, and Caitlin Chookagian, she had the title shot, obviously, then she beat Valentina's sister, Antonina, but you can tell she wants to be right there, and this is a big fight for women's 125, it really is. I'm super looking forward to that, and then also Jonathan Martinez and Thomas Almeida, I just think they're such great guys, Jonathan Martinez is so quiet, and Thomas Almeida is a pretty soft-spoken guy as well. But when they get in there, they're just killers. And with Thomas's long layoff, I'm really curious to see how he returns, almost 3 years. And I was fortunate enough to see him work out at the PI quite often when he was training in Las Vegas. So that's one that I really piqued my interest, and I think that's a great way to start off the main card.
Nice. Last one for me outside of this. The documentary came out, and obviously you and Joseph were a huge part of, kind of the last couple episodes. I guess, what was that like watching it, and I guess having so much of your personal life kind of be out there as well?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
On purpose?
Yes.
Interesting.
I mean, it's the worst day of our lives, so, what is there to relive, and I was there for it. So, I haven't seen it. Everyone's been super nice about it, and I have to say, Rory, the producer and director of it, absolutely incredible. Him and his entire crew were wonderful to work with. They were so sensitive, and they understood the situation and had such great respect, and they were so wonderful even after. But you know, I mean, I don't mind sharing my personal life at all because.
In hindsight, do you wish you hadn't done it, maybe? Or?
I mean, sure, like because of how it ended, but it's also like, you know, like that's a risk and that's a part of our life. But like to be able to show other people like this is how we love each other, but also there's going to be highs and lows in life, and there could be moments that are worse than that. You know, we're healthy, we have good families, we're able to make a living for each other. Like, yeah, he lost a fight and his dream obviously was shattered right there, but we got to go home to our beautiful house with our health and, you know, see our families and stuff. So we have to kind of take it all in stride. And I think that Joseph is a beautiful example to a lot of people. And I'm so proud of him for that. So as much as I don't want to watch it, I know that it provided something good for other people to see.
I was going to say, it's clearly hard for you to talk about, but I mean, do you see the value in it? Like maybe helping, you know, fans or, you know, newcomers to the sport realize like what goes on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, especially with the internet, oftentimes people forget that, you know, these are human beings with feelings. For me, in my role, I always like take Joseph into consideration. So whoever's in front of me, I want to treat them the way I want Joe to be treated. And I want to tell their stories the way I want Joe's story to be told. Because, yeah, he's a beast inside the octagon, but he's an artist and he loves fashion and, like, he's a great person and he's been sober for 15 years. Like, those are stories that matter, you know? And so I always take the approach of storytelling the human side of these athletes because, yeah, we're all here to see them fight inside an octagon, but there's so much more to each individual that it's important, and it doesn't always go our way. And, you know, there are times, I'm sure every person in this room has had somebody where they're like, oh, you're just gutted, right? Because you know they're a good person or you know their background. And I think it's important to remember that for people. I think, you know, in MMA especially, but in all sports, oftentimes that's forgotten.
You mentioned storylines and what have you, but if you look at Brian Ortega and Korean Zombie, they're probably two of the more laid-back fighters in featherweight, and yet they probably have more heat since the Izzy Costa fight. Are you surprised that it's those two that are bringing the storyline?
You know, probably, yeah, especially with Korean Zombie. He speaks English, but not like a ton of English, so it's not like they're, you know, kind of, they can jab at each other all the time or anything like that. Yeah, it is a little bit surprising, but you know, they're two incredible competitors, and I think that ultimately is really what is leading to this, is they both want to get, you know, to that title, and for Brian, get another shot at whoever's holding the belt. And so I think it really comes down to that. But it is surprising, especially like when you see them outside of fighting, they're just gonna chill, you know, they're not really doing anything. They're very soft spoken. So yeah, it is a little surprising.
You think that just shows every fighter can be pushed to that
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I even think, you know, they're a great example, and for like the diehards of the sport, you take somebody like Hannah Cifers, right, who hates doing media, and she knows she has to get better at it, but she's terrified when she does it, but then she goes in the octagon, and that's where she wants to be, and that's what she wants to do, and she turns it on. So I think, yeah, it's absolutely also an example to people like, you don't know who you're talking to on the street, so it's best not to mess with anybody.